afternoon, good evening. This is Mirror House Concert, and it's your girl, Omoshaliwa Mokumbi Dosumo. Once again, we're still on our topic, losing my religion. And today on my show, oh my goodness, I have my sister, a friend, a colleague, the one and only misbehaving of Atlanta, Georgia. Anyway, you know what? I cannot do a better job introducing her than she can do introducing herself. So I'm going to usher her in and have her introduce herself. So I don't waste your time and you don't waste mine. Hold on, sit back. This is going to be beautiful.
Hi, I am comedian Mr. Haven, also known as Tamala, with the beautiful and talented Kumbi for Mirror Concepts.
Thank you, Mirror House Concept, but who you flatter me. So, misbehaving. I'm going to tell you a little bit of. I'll tell you the question, then I'll tell you what we do. Then you talk about what you do in your. Do you understand what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So growing up, what are the things about church that or mosque or Hindu that encouraged you to go? See, as an African child, you don't. It's not a question of do you want to go to church. It's get dressed, we're going to church. So we don't have the option to say, I don't feel like going to church today. And I know, you understand what I'm saying? So that's the way it was with us. So I don't know if it's still that way because I don't force my kids to go to church. I mean, if they want to go, fine. If they don't want to go, I mean, when they were younger, they have to. But now that they're grown, because I need that foundation. Now that they're grown, hey, if they want to, it's fine. If they don't want to, it's fine. So is it the same in your culture?
Okay. It depends on I guess what kind of family, you grow up in. Like in my family, it was definitely go to church or get out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I grew up with my father's parents for like the first 8 years of my life.
Okay.
And so my grandfather was a preacher, minister. And, my grandmother was saved, sanctified, filled with the Holy Ghost, with the evidence of tongues,
Yeah.
So I grew up very much entrenched in the church.
Okay. So the question, let's go to the question, like what kept you, what made you want to go as a young lady? Because I like going back to like the roots, like when you were in your teenage years, what encouraged you to want to go with them? What are the things you think about and you're like, it's not so bad to go with grandma to church today?
Now when I was a teen, of course, going to see your other teen friends. Growing up, I always liked church. It was like my foundation before, I had any memories. So to me, going to church was, I guess you could say, kind of like living righteous.
Okay. Okay. I like that. I like that. Even as a teenager, I like that. Yeah, I do. I really do.
I still got in trouble though. But...
Of course, we all do. Of course, we got into trouble then, and we're still getting into trouble sometimes now. Trust me. So, growing up, what are the things about church that discouraged you from going? That I want to say, I don't feel like being here. I don't want to be here.
Growing up, I didn't really have anything to discourage me from church. Like, I mean, church was something I really enjoyed. You know, I went to so yeah, I can't remember ever not wanting to go to church.
Okay.
You know, like even now that I'm on a different, you know, spiritual journey,
Mhm.
I still, you know, still want to go to church. Like, you know what I'm saying? Because I love it. You know, I enjoy the singing, you know, I just enjoyed the culture
Okay. Okay.
of church. I haven't been in a while, you know, of course, since before COVID, I haven't been.
We have to
But
fix that.
yes, 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 yes. But I definitely was telling my cousin that, you know, I miss going to church. Like I gotta start back, you know, doing that, even though, you know, like I said, I'm on like a different trajectory,
Mhm,
you know,
mhm.
spiritually.
Yeah. Okay. So okay, so growing up, what part of church did what part can you say the church played in molding you into the woman you are today? Like to who you are today?
Um, okay. I guess just praying, you know, instead of doing drugs to try to escape,
Mm,
go pray.
mm, okay.
That was, you know, that was the thing probably that had the biggest influence.
Thank God for the praying grandmother.
Yes, yes,
This
yes,
one will
yes,
not
yes,
do drugs. This one belongs to
yes,
the Most High
yes,
God.
yes.
I feel
You
you.
know, having yeah, having a self-esteem, you
Mhm.
know, saying no, you
Yeah,
know, like I'm not doing that. Like,
yeah.
you
That
know, just
emptiness is not there.
yeah, yeah, you know, having a, I guess you could say a fear of God, you know, like a healthy fear of God.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, you know, just not willing to do any and everything to fit in. Like I
Yeah,
was definitely, you know, like I said, I did my dirt,
of
but
course.
it was what I wanted to do.
Yeah, I
You
like
know,
that.
it wasn't, I wasn't caught up in trying to, you know, fit in
Yeah.
or, you know, or trying to do stupid stuff
Mm-hmm,
to
mm-hmm.
for a guy, you
Okay,
know.
okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So, you know, I do appreciate church and, you know, definitely the role models, you know, that I had.
Mm,
I guess you could say real authentic you know, role models.
mm,
You know, my grandmother, she was a praying, like super praying woman.
mm, mm.
Um, you know, when she would pray, you know, she would kneel, you know, at the bed and I would squeeze in between her and the bed. So I got a lot of laying on of
Your
hands.
hands on.
Just, you know, just always wanting to be at her feet. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Just like, you know, just even when she was in her prayer closet, I was right there. And then, you know, my grandfather, he was a praying man too. You know, like a lot of men, especially in the church, is a lot of men who don't really pray.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
my
That's
grandfather,
true. That's
he
true.
was definitely a praying man, and he was definitely for the people. You
Mm.
know, like if somebody's son got in trouble, you know, or got put in jail, you know, my granddaddy could get your child out of jail for
Mm.
free, like with no money.
Oh yeah, because he's a preacher, so he's like
Yeah.
a good, a solid
Yes.
I don't want to say alibi, like a solid custodian.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
You know, like a mentor, you know,
Yeah, like
like,
a
and you know,
mentor. Yes, yes.
yeah. Yeah, you know, and he would, you know, he had a janitorial service, so he would, you know, give them a job. Like they
Hmm.
knew, okay, if Elder Cummings, you know, he's really going to, you know, put his hands on that
Mm,
person.
mm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes, yes.
So, you know, so I guess you could say I was very blessed. And then, you know, my mom, her dad, I wasn't really that close to my mom's side coming up, but her dad was a preacher as well.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
you
So
had
it's kind of
teachers
like,
and prayer warriors
yeah,
everywhere.
yeah, yeah. I really didn't have much of a choice.
Yeah. Probably a pastor in the making, who knows? Were you inspired to, like, what inspired you to continue saying, okay, even though now you're on a different spiritual journey, you still say, okay, I want to go to church. Is it, there's still that pull that's saying, I still want to go to church?
It's for me, the praise and the worship, and like, you really can go and get lifted.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like you can go to church, you can get motivated,
Yeah.
you can get lifted, you can get inspired.
Yeah.
Um,
Like to keep that faith fire burning.
Yes, exactly. So,
Okay, I like that.
so I don't have any even though I will say this, like as far as the church goes, I know there are a lot of people there who go for the wrong reason.
Yes.
Like it doesn't really matter if it's church or if it's a mosque or just what
Or the
I've
Hindu
observed.
temple.
Yeah. Anytime you're dealing with anything spiritual where people are vulnerable, it's gonna attract vultures.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So
I like that.
yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. So
like
you definitely have to be what they say,
as
behold, I seen
yeah.
you in the midst of wolves,
Yeah,
like a
we're
sheep in the
sheep.
midst of wolves.
Yes,
So
yes,
be as
yes,
wise as a serpent, but
yes.
as innocent as a dove.
I'm not innocent as a dove. Thank you. See, you know your
Mm-hmm.
scriptures, girl.
Yeah, I do. I do.
So, I know you talked about your grandparents being your role model when it comes to church and that. Are there any other, like any other person or any other people or a place besides Sunday school that you can think of that played played the role in molding your view of the church today? You understand the question? Or should I repeat it?
Repeat it and elaborate a little more.
Okay, what I'm talking about is when it comes to church, right? So what role did your parents play in making up your mind saying, you know what, I like this church thing, even though you're on a different spiritual path, which we'll talk about later. But what role is it only your grandparents that played that role of encouraging you to want to go back to church? Do you have friends that say, sometimes, girl, we need to go to church, we need to keep praying and stuff?
Well, the thing is, like, okay, so my grandparents did a really, I guess you could say, good job of being at that, like, where I came from, my foundation, it was like a holiness Pentecostal church. And so so which is very strict, like, women can't wear pants, can't wear
One of those old-time
makeup,
religion.
yeah. So that, but my grandmother, she never enforced that on us.
Okay.
But she definitely lived it.
Okay.
And my grandfather, he definitely lived it. So when my grandmother died, when I was 8, I came to Atlanta to live with my mom.
Okay.
And so they weren't going to church. My mom and my stepdad, they weren't going to church at that time.
Okay.
And so as a little girl, I was like, we need to go to church. And I just kept saying that. It was probably about 3 years. And my dad's brother introduced my mom to our family church.
Okay.
That we that my family still belongs to, which it was one of the first like big mega churches.
Okay.
I don't know if you know who Vincent Idahosa is.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But it was it him and our bishop, which ended up being kind of like marred in scandal, but him and our bishop were very close.
Okay.
So it was like that church, I guess you could say you got a very good
Support
full
system.
balance.
Okay.
Hmm?
I
Full
said support
balance.
system. Mm-hmm.
You said what?
I said support system.
Yeah, you got a good support system. You
Mm-hmm.
got like they had something for the youth. Like
Mm-hmm.
my cousin, I was talking to her the other day, and she's like 10 years younger than me. And I mentioned my old church, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, I always loved going to that church." Like, you know,
Mm-hmm.
she thought that was the best church to her. As a little girl, she's
Yeah.
probably about 6 at that
Yes.
time.
Yes.
They were really good as far as like they even had um counseling, like they had a support group called
Mm.
Overcome.
Mm.
And where people, if you had issues with drugs, if you
Mm.
had issues with alcohol, if you were going through a divorce, if you were grieving, if you had issues with food,
Mm.
if you were like
You're
they had
gluten.
that even then, where you could go, you can talk freely,
Mm.
and you know it wasn't going outside of that
Okay.
uh space.
Mm. Okay.
So they really focus on ministering to the whole person,
Mm. Mm. Mm.
not just trying to get you saved,
Yeah.
but while you're here, you need to
Let's
be
talk about other things. Let's take care of
yeah
other
you need
things.
to yeah you need to be able to live victorious. You
Yes.
know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Mm.
There's a saying that says you can't be so heavenly minded till you're
Mm.
no earthly good.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So they definitely make sure that you know if you wanted to, you could basically minister to your whole
So your whole
person.
life, whole world, and
Yeah,
like your whole,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, your whole. Even they even had like sports teams, and like just it was very well balanced. And I just remember they had this deliverance preacher.
Mm.
And so, we would even have classes, on deliverance and stuff like that. So I was very, I guess you could say, blessed
Mm.
to go to a church that, ministered to the whole person.
Mhm. Yeah, it's I like the fact that you talked about this, because I remember having a discussion with my daughter, and these things are missing in church now. I always tell people, I say, I picked up acting in church because they created that platform when we were like I was 5 years old.
Okay.
When we go on stage, we do plays and stuff, and I grew up with that. So I remember then people advising my mom, just let this girl go into theater arts, but that's another gist for my
Right.
therapist. you know, but
Right.
things like that, you build that foundation. You get that in church. We used to have
Mm-hmm.
Bible classes where you learn scriptures. The foundation is there. We have different things we can. Nowadays people come to church and they can't even talk about issues they're going through, because we have leaders. I don't want to say not I don't not only we can't always blame only the pastors. We have leaders in church that don't know how to be quiet. when I come to you as a leader, church leader, and I discuss issues with you, I expect you to take it to your grave.
Right.
If you need, even if you need other people to pray with you for me, you don't need to expose everything. Like I've been to a church where if you go talk to the church pastor, I'm telling you, everything you talked about is going to be the sermon for the next Sunday. That's just
Ooh.
oh yeah.
Wow.
That is, or you go to talk to the pastor, and everything the first person before you talk to the pastor about, he will tell you everything. Like he cannot
Wow.
hold water. And people
Mm.
like that, if you know that is the kind of person you are, set up a department, find someone who can
Right.
who can keep them, who can be a good therapist or a good
Right.
counselor that knows
Right.
that, okay, I cannot repeat what I discussed with
Right.
this person. Um, then the youth, we need to keep the youth engaged in church. Like you said, if there are things that I don't just don't want to go there and just sit down and just watch the older ones just do whatever it is they're doing, I'll get bored. And the
Right.
honest thing is, I connect with the youth a lot. I don't
Hmm.
know why, but it has always been that way. And like you said,
Right.
your grandmother did not enforce that on you. But see,
Right.
but even she did not enforce that on you. I'm sure there are some things that even when you want to put on some things, that 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 voice
Right.
will be there, like, and
Right.
will grandma like this? You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
And that
Right.
happens because I still hear my mom. Sometimes I do some things and I hear my mom's voice. I'm like, get out of my head, you know? So anyway, let's move on to the next. Let's move on to
Okay.
the
Okay.
next
Well,
question.
what I was gonna say, at my church here in Atlanta, it was Chapel Hill Harvester Church,
Okay.
and it became the Cathedral of the Holy Spirit, and now it's Spirit and Truth. But
Okay.
as a teenager, we would have, like, on Wednesdays Bible study, like
Mhm.
we would have so many teenagers, like
Mm.
several hundred
Yeah.
teenagers,
Mm.
and they would start the session by allowing us to tell your mama jokes.
Yes.
You
Yes.
just, you couldn't cuss, but
Yeah, but I mean, there are ways, there are
you could
things you
tell
can
your
say.
mama jokes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like your mama's so fat, or your mom,
Yeah.
So they really made it where, as a teen, you look forward to going. Like,
Yeah.
I can't remember not ever looking forward to going
To
to
going to
church.
church. Yeah, that's true. You
Hmm.
know, I know of there's a church I go to in Canada also where
Hmm.
the pastor will like kind of call you. So the pastor for Halloween, the pastor will have them bring all the kids over and they have the Halloween in church. So they wear all their
Right.
costumes, come to
Hmm.
church. They have
Hmm.
this candy, there's everything. So you want to go to church Halloween Eve, Halloween day, you want to actually go to church and be there with the other members.
Right.
So
Right.
I do understand what you're talking about. Let me go to the next question.
Okay.
So besides the church, can you say anything in the society kind of encouraged you to want to go to church? Like, is there anything in the like maybe friends, maybe
Oh, you talking about in community?
yes, in the community. Let me say community there. Let me not say society. In the community, but I say society because I'm involved in things like the media, like what things going on in general. You know, when you say community is limited to just your neighborhood, but I'm talking about like
Okay.
the in general, like everything. Is there anything
Mhm.
that encouraged you to want to say, oh, I'm a Christian?
Um, I mean, other than, I guess you could say, as far as, America is a little tricky.
Mm,
Um, it's kind of like, growing up as a Black, person in the South.
mm,
Um, I would say Christianity was used to, keep Black people in their place.
mm. Mm. Mm.
Um, you know, and but on the flip side, it's kind of like as far as America goes, no.
Okay. Okay. No,
You
that's
know, as far as yeah, as far as America goes, no.
yeah.
Mainly, I guess you can say my immediate village, but as far as America, America's a little tricky. Like
I
when,
know.
when when we're at war, let's say with a Muslim country,
Yes,
we
yes.
love to say, "Oh, we're a Christian nation."
Mm,
We
yeah,
love to say that,
yeah.
but no, nothing in America or the media,
Mm,
uh, ever made me feel like, oh, I want to go to church or, be a Christian,
mm.
because there was so much dichotomy.
Okay, okay. Okay. Um, let's go to learning the word, the Bible.
Okay.
Besides your, I know your grandmother helped, like taught you. Did she ever sit you down to explain the Bible to you? So what I mean is, besides Sunday school, was there, and
Oh,
besides the Bible class that you talked about, is there anybody else that sat you down to explain the Bible to you?
my grandmother definitely, she had a flower garden with, all these beautiful flowers. And whenever she like pulled her weeds or, she always used different
Mm,
things in her flower garden to, you know, illustrate. So yeah, she did that a lot, you
mm.
know.
So she
Um
used like natural things in a house to kind of teach you the Bible.
yeah.
Oh, I like that.
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
now on the flip side, your new spiritual
Okay.
journey, are you
Mm-hmm.
comfortable? You want
Journey.
to talk about it or no?
Oh yeah, most definitely.
Go ahead. What because this is not part of my question. I want to know what prompted you to say, let me go to Nigeria as an African American, like, let me go to Nigeria, let me go and study Ifa. So go ahead.
Well, what I guess you could say my dad passed in 2014, and I was asking the quintessential questions like, who am I?
Okay.
But I wanted to know, who am I apart from what the white man has said
Okay.
I am.
Okay.
So I wanted to go to the source of my people,
Okay.
in Africa.
Mm-hmm.
So I started, looking at different uh African cultures, and then it was like at first I started, kind of looking at the Ghanaian culture, and it was, it was interesting, but somehow or another I got turned on to those Nollywood movies.
You know, and so wait a minute, this got style.
I said, my people, we don't know. Like,
Like, who? I feel
these are
connected to
my,
these
these are
people.
my, yeah, these are definitely my
My
aunties,
people.
my uncles. Right. These are my people.
And you know what? You know one funny thing? Misbehaving? I'm telling you, I see a lot of Nigerian in you.
Oh yeah.
I'm telling you, like, the little things you do, I just laugh, especially when you come with that.
Oh, honey, when I first seen that in the Nigerian movie, I was like, you mean I don't have to cuss somebody out to insult them? I can just, oh, oh. I was like, you're not even worth my words. I'm
You
just going to.
know?
Oh, and you know, they're so dramatic.
Mm,
You
I
know,
know.
it's like these are my people. Like, so it was the Nollywood movies that definitely,
Did
you
it.
know, yeah. But you know, so when my dad died, and this is, you know, like my family dynamic is, you know, like, and this is very common in Black American families, where oftentimes, you know, the child will be raised with grandmama.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she'll call grandmama mama and her mama by their first name.
Auntie. Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So that was kind of my dynamic.
Mm.
And so, you know, my dad, we had kind of like put it this way, the first 8 years of my life, the first few years of my life, you know, I was definitely like a daddy's girl. You know, my dad, he left the South to
Okay.
go up to New York because he couldn't deal with the racism.
Mm, mm, mm.
And but it wasn't until after my dad died that I realized that, you know, my stepfather
Mm,
put a wedge between our relationship, you
mm.
know, between my relationship with my father. You know how you become grown and
Yeah.
you look at things
Yeah.
and you can see the other side, like
Mm-hmm,
where that
mm-hmm.
relationship went,
Yeah. Mm,
you know. So yeah, so when my dad died, I almost had a nervous breakdown.
mm.
So yeah, I was, you know,
I can relate, girl.
yeah. So I was at that time I was at Georgia State. I was going to school. This is 2014.
Mm,
And I went to the counseling office that they have there, because I mean I literally, this was on a Monday.
mm,
I literally was on the verge of being in a nervous breakdown. And
mm.
so the psychologist there, she recommended that I go to the what they call the mind body clinic.
Okay.
And over there, they taught you how to meditate. So
Okay.
this was on Monday. Like, had I not gone there that Monday,
Mm.
I know I would have been committed, you know, like in a mental ward. Like,
Yeah.
that's how
Mm.
bad I was.
Oh, wow.
So went there Monday, and I went every day, you know, for the meditation. And by that Thursday, you know, I was like I was good.
Mm.
You know. And so I kept meditating. And then my meditation coach, you know, over the course of years, you know, we've become friends. And you know, of course I, I would meditate, but over the course of meditation, you know, I would do it on my own. You know, after several sessions with her, I would do it over my own. And basically, you know, when we're meditating, she's not doing what they call suggestive meditation. It wasn't anything like that. It's just, we're just sitting, being still, taking deep breaths, and just, you know, like just decompressing our minds.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So basically, through meditation and just, because this was 2014, 2015.
Mm.
Long story short, it was kind of like a series of things that, you know, I just kind of over time just started feeling like Christianity was oppressing me.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like, I just, I just like started feeling oppressed.
Okay.
And so, you know, one day, because I, you know, Uber sometimes, and I had got this gentleman in my car, this black gentleman, and I was playing my Afro beats.
Okay.
And he was like, you know, this music sounds African. And he's like, in fact, it's West African from Nigeria. And I said, well, how do you know? And And so he was a PhD. I forget what discipline, but it had something to do with, African cultures or West African cultures.
Okay.
And at that time, I had on, so my hair is yellow. I had on yellow.
Okay.
And he was like, in fact, you're giving me Oshun vibes.
Mm. Okay. Oh,
And I
sure.
was like,
Okay.
Oshun? Who
Okay.
is Oshun? What's that? And so, he just kind of gave me a little brief. Oshun is a deity, in the indigenous African spirituality, and she's over like fertility and stuff like that. And he was like, the fact that even your hair is yellow.
Okay.
So, so from that point, I started researching, Googling Oshun, Googling the Orishas, and I started following this one particular young lady.
Mm.
And okay, so long story short, like I always tell people, my pandemic happened early.
Yes.
Like, um, October 21st, 2019, a deer just was literally trying to leap across the road and fell on top of my car, totaled my car.
Ooh.
Yes. So then February 19th, 2020, and I knew it was something significant, but that when that deer did that, that happened to be the day that it was reported that COVID had let loose in China.
Mm.
You
Okay.
know,
Mm.
so then February 19th, 2020, my roommate had to rush me to the hospital. I almost died, like literally almost
Oh,
died
wow.
from just a simple urinary tract infection that went to my kidneys.
Oh, wow.
And I didn't even, I knew I was in trouble,
Mm-hmm.
and I knew I knew what it was because
Like
I
something
had
was
it
wrong.
before,
Okay.
you
Okay.
know, but I didn't know I was in that much trouble,
Okay.
you know. So long story short, just after being in the hospital for a few days, the doctor, you know, came and asked how I was doing. I was like, I'd be okay if they would stop bothering me and let me get some sleep. And so she said, well, she just got real quiet. And then she said, well, they that was because they was fighting for your life to keep you from going into septic shock and dying.
Mm.
I was like, wow. Like I was right at death's door. And so that was February 19th, 2020. And then June 29th, I got a bad case of food poisoning
Oh, food poisoning?
where from Chipotle. And I had to go to the emergency room, and afterwards, my I had such a bad case of motion sickness that I couldn't walk for like 6 weeks without holding on to something or somebody. So all that had gone on. And so in the meantime, I'm studying this girl, talking about Orishas and, all this other stuff. And then my aunt passed January 1st, 2021.
Mm.
And so this is like one of the aunts that was like my sister. So to kind of give you a little further background. So my youngest aunt, who kind of grew up like my sister, died 2009.
Mm.
My brother died 2012. My dad died 2014. And then
Oh,
my
wow.
other aunt, who was like my sister, died 2021. So
It was
I
a
was like,
lot.
okay, I need answers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need answers. Like, am I next? I need to find, I need to know what's going on because, all these deaths and then everything that I'd gone through. And also, my mom had a real major hemorrhagic stroke August 2020.
Mm.
So it was
Can I
like,
ask you a question?
here,
Can I
yes.
ask you a question? In all this, while all this is going on, normally, Christians, we normally turn to church. But I mean, I remember you said that you decided to get out of that because you felt it was an oppression. Was that why you didn't, I mean, not even turning to church, pray? Like,
Oh,
you
I
try to
definitely.
pray or
Oh
anything?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I definitely prayed. But you know, like when my mom had her stroke, and see, she was in the nursing home for 3 months, and
Mm.
this is in the middle of COVID where we couldn't get to her.
Yeah.
So at that point, like I was, what's the word? I was in a state of mind where I just, I was too fragile.
Okay. Okay.
You know what I'm saying? I was too fragile.
Yeah.
So so basically, after my aunt died, New Year's Day 2021, I needed answers.
Okay.
So I reached out to the young lady, for a consultation. And hindsight 2020 now, I know that she must have had somebody in Nigeria, like a Babalawo in Nigeria, to, do the reading,
Okay.
because she's not at that level.
Okay.
She mixes a lot of, she mixes
Cautions.
a lot of different what's the word?
Cautions?
She mixes a lot of different things. Like she's into horoscopes, she's into
Oh, okay.
tarot.
Oh,
It's not, like, and then she's, I think, uses her intuition. Like, she may be kind of intuitive,
is she Nigerian?
So no, she's not Nigerian.
Okay. Okay.
But she has gone to Nigeria
Okay.
and initiated, into Ifa.
Okay.
But I know that she must have had a Babalawo in Nigeria or somebody else to do my
Okay.
consultation, because when I tell you it was spot on,
Okay.
I mean, it was spot on.
Okay.
And so, you know, it was so detailed about things that, I hadn't really talked about, I hadn't really put in the atmosphere.
Okay.
And so, there were some things I needed to do. And she connected me with Babalawo here in Atlanta.
Okay.
And so, long story short, that was in March when I met Baba Sakin.
Okay.
And in June, he just mentioned that he was going to Nigeria. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's my like dream destination. And so he said, well, I got some people that's going to be staying with me. Let me check and see if I have enough room. If I do, you can come. So that was June 2021. I was in Nigeria August 2021. Like, yes, 2 months later, you know. So, but I guess you could say one of the things that, because I have to say the meditation
Okay.
kind of led to my mind, like, or what some people call it, like you're opening your third eye.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it was like I said, it felt like Christianity felt like a box.
Okay.
And like, spiritually, I had broke out of that box.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like I was, on a whole nother plane. And
Okay.
I've always been like the type of person who, because I know my Bible, and
Of course.
and one of the things that I guess you could say helped me as far as with Ifa is that when you look at the Old Testament, really a lot of the Old Testament is, to me, derived from Ifa.
Okay.
A lot of, because when you look in the Bible, when you read the Bible and it talks about sacrifices, it's
Okay.
talking about real sacrifices. It's
Mm-hmm.
not talking about
No, they
what's the
real sacrifice with goats and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, you
With
know, it's
altars
talking
and
about,
stuff. Yes.
yeah, it's talking about that in the New and the Old Testament. So and so it was kind of like, when you look at the history of, because I like to read and I like to study, history. And I took a art class in Georgia State, and I think it was Eastern art, which really most of the art was art in Africa.
Yes. Yes.
And so that, they studied a lot of art, and the first art really was like, as far as the images of God,
Okay.
it was like a format
Okay.
that they follow,
Okay.
like, God had a beard, had clothes, had a head covering, and so and then even some, like one of the pharaohs, Hamasheth, who was a female, she portrayed herself as a man in many of, the art depictions of her.
Okay. Okay.
So it was like, and then, it talked about also when the first depictions of Jesus came from, because the Bible said you weren't supposed to make an image of Jesus.
Okay.
And so how Jesus became white, it was just that the people who created the picture, it wasn't meant as a literal translation of Jesus. They just painted him the color of themselves.
Yeah. With me, because God, the Bible says that God created us in his image. So I believe we all, there's no, okay, this is what God looks like. Nobody can say that, because he created all of us in his image. He says, let us make man in our image. So he created, you understand what I'm saying? So when he spoke to Moses, he said, I am that I am. So he's everything. He can be, to Elijah, he was the God that answers by fire, right? I always tell people, to me is Jehovah Rapha, because I've seen him. He has healed me out of different sickness, and I've seen him walk in that way. To someone else, he might be Jehovah Nissi. So he is, to you, like he shows he shows the different side of him, of Christ. You understand what I'm saying? And I go by the image of Jesus Christ based on where he came from. So he's not white. If you go by, okay, he was born in Nazareth, right? He was a Nazarene. They ain't white people. So, and he's not black either.
Well,
if you Google the Nazarenes, if you look at what they look like, they look more like the Eastern, like the brown skin. You understand what I'm saying?
Okay. Well, what about in Revelations, how it describes Jesus?
It never said he had blue eyes.
No. But it describes Jesus as having, his skin was like bronze, hair like wool.
Yeah, that does not. Yeah, but have you seen an Indian person? Indians can actually claim Jesus more than we can, because he has that. No, it's true.
But Indians, they're just starting to claim.
No. I'm not saying he's Indian. I'm just saying that
right.
Like an Indian person with the brown skin, with the hair, like their hair. You have the mixture of the white and the African hair. So their hair, they have the long, how do you explain it? The wool kind of hair. You understand what I'm saying? If you Google Nazarenes, if you Google them, like images of what they look like. You understand? So there is not a black man. So we can't say, okay, black Jesus. But I don't I don't like saying, okay, this is what you should believe. No. Let Jesus be who you think he is to you. You understand what I'm saying? Because that's the way you can connect with him better than the way I can connect with him. You understand what I'm saying? He is who he is to me. The image of him I have is not what I see on TV, because I know he definitely does not have blue eyes. You understand what I'm saying? So that's the thing. That's what I tell people. Like, okay, if to you, if you see him as a black Jesus, hey, he comes in different forms. But I go by, I'm just explaining that I go by where he comes from. So we cannot. I just don't want to box him up and say, okay, because I read the video you sent me. I went to Google the guy. And a lot of these people that are saying it's the white man's religion, blah blah blah. The thing is, the book they are reading to counter this is written by another white man. So that's that part. But go ahead. I just want to throw that in there. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, mainly the principles that they're referring to, Ma'at, which is Egyptian, you know, which was black. That's where the 10 Commandments came from.
Okay.
From the principles of Ma'at.
Okay.
So, but in, you know, in Revelations, it does describe Jesus. And if his skin is like bronze, that's black. Like those bronze statues, those Benin bronze statues.
Okay.
That's blacker than black. That's blackly black.
Okay.
And his hair like wool, you know, like Indians don't have woolly hair. They have that silky hair. His hair like wool.
Okay.
That's nigger hair.
Okay.
You know, that's, you know, but okay. And I guess you could say when you talk to a lot of Christians, and I'm talking about myself too.
Yeah, I know.
You know, because I used to be one of those people. It's like when you look at, it's like Christians can't hear anything other than the Bible.
Okay.
And when you look at history, when you look at it's like the Bible, the earth isn't that old if you go by the Bible. You know what I'm saying?
You know what I go by?
What's that?
I go by the relationship I have with him.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? Because there's some things I read in the Bible that does not minister to me. I'm not gonna lie. And there's some things in the Bible that ministers to me. You understand what I'm saying? Let me tell you for an example. When I realized I had the gift of singing, I struggled with it a lot. And sometimes people make me feel as if I can't sing. And I'm like, okay. So even when I get upset and I'm like, I'm done, blah, 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 someone will call me out of the blue from maybe it might just be someone I haven't even spoken to in a long time. And they say, I don't know what you're doing, but I had a dream that I see you singing to a lot of people, in the midst of a lot of people. Or somebody will just call me and say, like God says he wants me to continue worshiping. You understand? Like, or during while I'm sleeping, I'll just there will be this person in white. I normally don't see the face, but he will teach me, like he's as if sitting down teaching me song. Like, okay, don't sing it that way, sing this one. You understand? Like we sit down, which is difficult for people to see that side. I have seen that side. I've seen him personally teach me things. You understand what I'm saying? Might be an angel, I don't know, but there's somebody in white that sit down and explain music, like, okay, sing it this way. You understand what I'm saying? I tell people, I say, I didn't take vocal classes. At some point, I was paralyzed by, every time I pick up a mic, I get paralyzed by fear. And and he will minister to me and say, close your eyes, think of nobody but me, see nobody but me. You understand what I'm saying? So that's not the white man telling me that. That's, you understand? That's not the white man bringing it. That's not the white man, white man's word for me. So that's what I'm saying. That, and I cannot dismiss what you're saying, because we have to look through culture also. So I have to like reason from where you're coming from. You know, I have to reason from, and for me, I've been beat down so much in the world that even when I tell my kids what I've been through, they're like, "What? And you're still standing?" It's God. It's God right there. You understand what I'm saying? And
but let me say this. I understand that, and I agree with you. The way I look at spirituality now is because you look at the Asians, you look at the Hindu, you look at all these other cultures who aren't Christian, who are successful, like a lot, way more, you know, they have way more standing than us as a race.
Yes.
Than we do. It makes it, the way I look at spirituality is, you know, as long as you live and you believe in a higher power, and you pray and you move on faith and not necessarily by fear or by sight,
yes,
you know, God will bless you. Like, I don't believe that all these people who have not accepted Jesus as their Lord and Savior is going to hell.
Okay.
I don't believe that.
I don't believe that either.
You know,
I don't believe that. I'm sorry, I don't believe that. I don't know who I was talking to, and I said, it might sound stupid. I've been in church, and I know my place, and I'm not afraid to say this on air, but I don't believe they are going to hell.
Right.
I don't believe that. I don't, because my father was a Muslim.
Okay.
But he will sit down, he will read the Bible, and he will tell you that there's so much similarities in both religion. Like, I'm like, what? Like, he explains both religions to me. And to believe that will make me believe that my father is going to hell. I just don't, because my father was a good man. He does, like, I've seen him do everything that, even as a Christian, you're told to do, and more. So I don't believe that either. I cannot say, oh, because you don't believe in Jesus Christ, you're going to hell. I'm sorry. It's not my place, so I don't believe that.
My biggest, I guess you could say, issue is that when you look at the Bible, you know, who commissioned the writing of the Bible, who decided what was going into the Bible. And then when you look at, you know, when Black people ruled the world, we were not Christians. You know, like the Egyptians had their spirituality. You know, we had our own spirituality, and the world came, the Greeks and the Romans, they came to sit at our feet and to study and learn from us. And they learned from us, and they took it and they made it all about them. And then they came back and forth, you know, what they learned on us, their version that they reinterpreted, you know. So when you look at, like, Christianity and slavery came at the same time in Africa. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's kind of like, you know, if you believe the Bible, then you have to believe that Ham's descendants were cursed.
Mm.
Like, I feel like a lot of Black Christians, the reason why white people are in power and still in power is because we believe, number one, we're cursed. We believe anything bad that happens, well, it's God's will. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Which is true. And I always tell people, no, God don't
You
do.
know, so and
Mm.
so it's like when you look at how the white man moved, like the only reason why the white man, what I was gonna say, a lot of times my issue is with my African brothers and sisters, is that sometimes it's kind of like a lot of African Americans feel like y'all kind of turn a blind eye to the white man's dealings.
Okay.
And you equate everything good with white or
Yeah.
Christian.
That's what, like, if we go into that, that's something like that. I studied criminal justice, and in some of my classes I see why, where and even that's, it's so imprinted into our hearts that, okay, white is good, black is for funerals, all these things, and it's because of little subtle messages. There's a, like, subtle messages even in shows.
Mm-hmm.
In shows, subtle messages in shows where the white cat is the nice one and the black cat is the mean one, like subtle messages that imprinted that in us. If we should go into that tonight, we are not going to end this show. Tell me
Right,
more
right,
about
right, right.
what happened in Nigeria.
Well, actually, Nigeria, I was really there as a I just, hey, I was going to Nigeria, juju or high water, like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
when I went to Nigeria, I just went observing. Like, I went to the Oshun Festival. I saw them, give the offerings in the river to Oshun.
Yeah.
I really was there
And you did
to
the
find.
dancing too. I saw the video where you were dancing.
Yes, yes. I really was there to just say, I finally made it home, to finally be the first person out of my ancestors, to go back to,
Your
which
roots.
I'm sure was my ancestral land.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it was such a surreal and beautiful experience where, like, I'm getting rained on. I'm like, this is Africa rain. Like, you know, like it couldn't have been no better rain in the world to be rained on with Africa rain.
I know, right? Like, this feels good.
Yes,
And the
yes,
food. Ooh.
yes, yes. And then, like one of the things that when I went to Nigeria and just seeing the people, fetch water from the well and, fetch firewood.
Yeah.
And I'm like, take bucket baths, some of them, like Baba, he had a nice home, but, other people had to take bucket baths.
Yeah.
And it was like, they do all this before and then go to work. I said, no wonder they're so successful when they come to America, because they don't have, they can just go to work. Like, you ain't got to fetch wood, fetch water,
Clean the
try to
house, cook.
trying to read by candlelight, because the power went out. It just was like, like, wow, these people are like strong. Like,
Yeah.
it was just, it was a beautiful experience. Like, it was like even running around with the goats and the chickens, and it was kind of like, it seemed like they understood you. Like, you could talk to them and they understood. Like, I'm outside with the rooster and he's crowing, and I'm like, on video. Let me see if he's gonna crow again. Like, Mr.
No.
Rooster, will you crow again? And he crows. Like,
Like, can you hear me? We're talking. Wow.
you know. So basically, when I went to Nigeria, it by that time, I've done enough research, I've studied enough, and I went really just as an observer, just to go and like I said, get to finally set my feet on Nigerian soil. But most, I guess you could say, as far as Ifa goes, most of I can't say I really had like a life-changing experience in Nigeria.
Okay.
Most of my experience was before I went to Nigeria.
Nigeria. Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And even now, just studying, what I was gonna say is, like, studying Ifa, a lot of the things, a lot of things I see where Christianity pulled from some of the principles in Ifa.
Okay.
And and a lot of the, because a lot of people think, like, with the human sacrifices and stuff like that, that's not Ifa. Like, Ifa, there's a whole Odu where Orumala said you can't do human sacrifices. So, so I always tell people, you have a lot of different indigenous African traditions. And just like you have Baptist holiness, people just, because they know Ifa, they lump a lot of the other, things into Ifa. But if you really study Ifa, you'll realize that it's very, very noble and respectful.
Okay.
And like, in that video I sent you, if you look at it all the way, what he's saying is, as far as like the criticism, is that a lot of quote unquote Christians, think they can live however. Well, I'm saved. I accepted Jesus as my Lord and Savior. And he just pointed out, like, yeah, he just was pointing out that whole concept is why you have priests that, abuse and sodomize children. You have preachers that, you know what I'm saying?
I understand what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I listened to most of it, like like I listened to most of it. So I understand what you're talking about, that Christians think that they can do anything and just get away with it. But there are consequences. Yes. You cannot do anything and get away with it. David, as much as God, the Bible says David was a man after God's heart. When he went to sleep with another man, with Uriah's wife, the child still died. Though he cried, he prayed that the child should not die. He got punished. He got his punishment. The child died. So there's nothing we do in life. There are consequences.
Right.
So if nobody can get away with anything, if you do anything, even after praying and asking for forgiveness of sin, of course you are forgiven. But if their thing, it depends on what, there's no small sin. That's what the Bible says. So the one that is stealing $10 from the mom's purse and the one that is killing somebody, you understand what I'm saying? There are consequences for our sin. He's a merciful God.
Right.
Yes. But there are consequences for any sin that is committed. Anyway,
right.
Because we're running out of time again. So at the end, overall, which one do you think you're holding on to now? Is it still church, or is it Ifa that you're holding on to now?
Honestly, I guess you could say I'm kind of in, I call it, I'm at that crossroads where I'm trying to decide.
Okay.
You know?
Okay.
And it's a very difficult place to be because, you know, you grow up believing something your whole life, and then you have this interruption.
Mm.
And so it's a very difficult place to be because I'm still trying to, you know, to decide. So that's where I am really.
Okay.
Right. You know, with Ifa, you have different steps that you go through. Like you get the first hand of, like, you have when you're born, you get, the baby gets this destiny reading and this name, and then you have where you get the first hand of Ifa, where, you know, like if you didn't have that naming, you know, and destiny ceremony where you find out your destiny, you know, you find out certain things. So I haven't even done that part yet,
Okay.
you know. So it's a lot of different steps that, you know, I haven't done.
Okay.
And my Baba and his wife is like, okay, you know, Tamala, when are you know, gonna get your first hand? And I just told her, you know, look, it's like a marriage. You know, marriage is not to be entered into lightly. Like,
Yes.
you know, I've only really been studying this really for a year.
Okay.
So, you know, so it's gonna take me a while
To
you
know
know,
what you want to do.
yeah,
Okay.
right, right.
Um, can you introduce yourself one more time because we're running out of time?
Hi, I am comedian Mr. Hayden, also known as Tamala, with the beautiful and talented Kubi.
So unfortunately, that is it for our show today. Did I tell you? I hope you had a wonderful time. Once again, my name is Omoshale Wamokumbi Dusumu, and this is Mirror House Concept. Bye.